let's face it, it's been a tough market over the last few months. I think there are actually signs of pipelines easing a little bit, but only in the last couple of weeks. But what we have seen is undoubtedly a world that's, perhaps more defensive than offensive over the last probably few years actually. And one of the questions that I get asked quite a lot is like how to protect margins when clients actually cut budgets. And this is happening everywhere. They still expect the same results if they do cut budgets, and obviously then that puts the relationship at risk, doesn't it? And so there's a few different things that I talk about, and a lot of it is really around mitigating the risk by doing the right things and having the right conversations up front. And you've got to start with clarity. Document scope literally like a lawyer, no vagueness. SLA is really important part of what it is that you do, and they don't have to be legal documents, but actually having something written down in black and white, like this is what you can expect from us and this is what we need to expect from you in terms of sign off and all that kind of stuff is really important. Document it like a lawyer, no vagueness. It feels uncomfortable at times, but that's the time to do it because it helps you later on. And within that process as well, make sure that you preempt any potential changes. So make sure that you build in flex scope, irrespective of whether you're doing a retainer or a project or whatever it is. Make sure that there are clauses that are really clear on how your rate card works, what's included, or critically what's not included for overages and that kind of stuff. Because again, black and white makes it much easier to have that conversation. And then of course make sure that you're communicating what happens if the budget does drop, if they're coming to you saying, well, we need to do this. Be really clear, and again the documentation helps make this easier, like what happens if it does, and show what has to come off the table in doing it. It's all right taking money away, but they have to understand that there's an impact to doing that. And then of course, and this is part of a wider sort of conversation really, is that try and move away from rate card and away from hours and all that kind of stuff to value first pricing. I think this is increasingly important in an AUI world anyway, because they're going to be clients are going to be chipping you in agency land very soon, because they're going to say, well, it doesn't take X number of hours or X number of pounds to build this piece of content because you can use AI, right? So I think trying to get back to understanding, well, what are the KPIs in their business? How does what you do affect their average order value or their conversion rate or their brand awareness, whatever it is, and make sure that they truly understand what happens when they cut the budget, so that it's value first. So that really helps you from a defensibility perspective. And then make sure that you're talking regularly. Have a monthly review, not a quarterly, a monthly review, to make sure that you're resetting expectations regularly, not when they come to you. Because I have always had a saying with CS teams, in that you should never be surprised, because you should be communicating regularly enough. You should have a strong enough relationship to make sure that nothing is a surprise. And if it is a surprise, then that tells you something about your ability to build a relationship. So hopefully that's helpful. The best agencies that I've seen and worked with and have built don't just deliver, they manage scope with absolute precision. And as a result, if you do that, it's really, it has a massive impact on profitability, and your profitability depends on that. So hopefully that's helpful if you're coming across these problems at the moment.